Welcome to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. And now, your host, Tim Johnson.
Welcome to another edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Adam Knapp was named President and CEO of the Baton Rouge Area Chamber in April of 2008, after having previously served as Deputy Director of the Louisiana Recovery Authority. Adam was a key figure in the creation of the LRA, which was designed to facilitate the state's recovery efforts in response to Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. Prior to his LRA tenure, Adam served as Economic Development Advisor to two governors and the Policy Director for the Louisiana Department of Economic Development. He graduated from Davidson College in 1996 and has also studied at the Harvard University John F. Kennedy School of Government. Adam Knapp, President and CEO of BRAC, joins us when we return on the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
The Louisiana Business and Industry Show will be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Joe Martin, President of ITI Technical College. Do you want a better life?
Get your associate's degree in occupational studies in information technology from ITI. In 2 years, you'll be on your way to a better life. You will get hands-on specialized training in computers, hardware and software, networking, and more. ITI offers flexible class schedules, and financial aid is available to those who qualify.
So don't wait. Call ITI now or go online. It's that simple.
ITI for a better life.
I'm Leighton Ricks, Livingston Parish, and Livingston Parish is on the move. One of the primary things that we ran on was developing business and jobs in Livingston Parish for our people so that we can bring obviously additional revenue to be able to support our infrastructure needs. We're going to continue to progress here in Livingston Parish. When everybody comes together, these kind of things happen. I mean, what can you say? It's absolutely awesome. It's the perfect place to be. It's where you want to be today, I can guarantee you that.
Hi, I'm Lee Burkeen with Louisiana Football TV Magazine. Be sure to watch our show every week where we have big-time recruits, college coaches, NFL players, current and former players, and call-ins with your questions. Be sure to catch us every Tuesday night at 6:30 live and 10:30 replayed on Cox 4 in Baton Rouge.
Insurance commercials have become unusually funny. We think that's strange because we take auto coverage pretty seriously at Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Of course, when you cover as many vehicles in Louisiana as we do, it doesn't leave a lot of time for silly gimmicks. We're more concerned about what happens to you on the road than any chickens that happen to cross it just to make you chuckle. Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Real service, real people.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show with Tim Johnson.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Adam Knapp, President and CEO of the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. BRAC is our guest. Adam, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being with us, buddy. Baton Rouge Area Chamber, more commonly referred to as BRAC. That's the way you've branded yourselves.
Yeah.
An important part of the greater Baton Rouge community. Talk a little bit about the mission and what you guys do day to day.
Yeah, we're a regional economic development organization. Oftentimes people think of a Chamber of Commerce as perhaps just a business lobby or a networking association. The important thing that's different about us is we're organized regionally to work with 9 parishes in our metropolitan area on the business of economic development. Our job is to lead economic development in the 9 parish area and to work cooperatively with a lot of the local elected officials, nonprofits that work in economic development so that we're all working together to try to grow the region's economy. Through that, we also do a lot of advocacy work to try to improve public policy, whether that's for K-12 education, transportation issues, workforce challenges. We engage in a lot of statewide and regional work that tries to improve the business climate for the same end. How do we grow the economy? How do we increase business investment? And what are the things we have to fix to get there? So that's what BRAC does.
You know, I think that's an interesting perspective that sometimes folks might not think about generally, is that you don't just do economic development. You're not just what people might think of as a traditional chamber, a lot of ribbon cutting and that sort of thing. But you really get focused on those business climate issues and lobbying the legislature, working with parish governments, local governments to do those sort of things. Talk a little bit more about that aspect of BRAC's operation, your governmental involvement, your advocacy.
You know, one of the things that one of my board members early on said to me when I got this job was, remember always that BRAC exists if it is an honest broker among the 9 parishes to work cooperatively with everybody involved for the bigger goal, the bigger mission of economic development, and that is the unifying thing of the region. In terms of our advocacy, our goal is to be something that doesn't exist, we think otherwise, is the entity that can get a lot of different players to the table and work on structural, very difficult stuff, whether that's K-12 education issues that a lot of folks want to see improve, but it's a very difficult issue. To work on transportation issues when you see parishes oftentimes have difficulty working with each other. If we can create a place where everybody can come together and find common ground, what are the big issues we can try to tackle? And over the course of the last 5 to 7 years, we've been able to do that very effectively. And now we're actually working on bigger things like how can we do that similarly as multiple regions even talking to each other. Can we get Lafayette and the New Orleans metro area and Home and Thibodaux and all start talking about Southeast Louisiana and how all of our economies cooperatively work? And maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But so our advocacy work really focuses on where we can actually try to achieve some big things that, but for BRAC's involvement to try to lead it, it may not otherwise happen.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about the involvement with Lafayette, New Orleans, Home and Thibodaux a little bit later, but I'm intrigued by this honest broker term. You know, one of the things that I saw through my career being involved in state government for a long, long time, for over 20 plus years now, was for so long we were so siloed in this state, that it was East Baton Rouge against Livingston, or it was East Baton Rouge against Ascension. It was certainly Baton Rouge against New Orleans. It was North Louisiana against South Louisiana. And this whole thought about cooperation and working together, and BRAC as that organization that brings these 9 parishes together, is critically important as we go forward. So talk a little bit more about that working relationship with those 9 parishes, and then later in the show we'll talk a little bit more about what you're doing with New Orleans and some of the other metropolitan areas.
You know, the interesting thing about the 9 parish partnership is it's the kind of thing that I'd liken it to a plant that will die in your living room if you don't give it water. I think that we have to talk to each other a lot to keep the partnership working, and I think that is something we've tried to do a lot, is just constructive dialogue on the work of economic development happening all the time, to the point where it just feels very natural that Iberville and Ascension and Livingston and St. Helena and Point Capee, that they'll all be at the table talking to each other and us about how we advance the region's economy. But also it involves some structural things we had to put in place. We've got agreements we've signed between our organizations and all of the parish level economic development organizations about what are those protocols of engagement, so that we actually have it written down, what we will do, what we will not do, what we want to make sure they know about our strategy, what they want to tell us. Please know this is important, that you don't do this or you do this. We've had a lot of work over the last 7 years to make sure we continue to refine that agreement, and we had one originally when we cast down this path back in 2005, and we've continued to refresh that over the course of time so that it reflects it. And we're also doing something similar with the state to try to write down those protocol agreements on how regional and parish organizations work with the state economic development department. That's the grounds of that honest broker relationship, is that it's written down, we can all see how we're meant to work together, and therefore in our monthly meetings and our quarterly meetings, when all the parish partners get together in our offices to talk about what we're all working on, we're all starting from the same place, and even if somebody leaves one organization and a new person comes in, there's a framework we're all operating from that's already in place, that we don't have to go and reinvent.
It's a clear understanding, and the model has worked very, very well, and we're seeing the same sort of regional operation now all over the state, right? These regional economic development organizations that exist, they're in part supported by Louisiana Economic Development, and that relationship with the state organization as you go in and try to put these things together. Got about a minute left in the segment, so let's touch base on that. How do these regional economic development organizations like BRAC, like GNO Inc., like the Lafayette Economic Development Authority that Greg Gautreaux has run very, very well for a long time, how do they interact with the state's economic development efforts, and what has their role been in making us so successful over the last couple of years?
The regional organizations really knit together the partnerships in each of the parishes, and the state often will rely on the regional or local organizations to carry a project through to its conclusion. If we're attracting a company, helping an existing company to expand, it's going to come to the local and regional organizations to do a lot of the work on the ground to make the project happen. But we rely on our state partners significantly for crafting and understanding of state tax law, for example, incentives, workforce solutions, and being a broader partner to accomplish those things. So it happens in a very coordinated way.
And there's been a lot of success, and when we come back from the break, that's one of the things I want to talk about. We're visiting with Adam Knapp. He's the president and CEO of the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, BRAC, and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show on Cox 4.
The Louisiana Business and Industry Show will be back right after this.
I go to work every day, and I love doing what I'm doing, and I love being a part of Livingston Parish, and to be elected sheriff, to be able to lead Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office is just such an honor for me. And so I'm very excited about not only where we're at today, but where we're going to be at in the future. The parish is so special to us. The citizens, they work with the Sheriff's Office, they trust the Sheriff's Office. Our community stands behind us 100%, and they get involved. They don't want crime in Livingston Parish.
For over 40 years, Louisiana's original coffee put the joie into vie with its big, rich flavor. Now, Mellow Joy is back, and people are waking up to the original Cajun coffee. At work, the joy continues with a full line of satisfying coffees. Dark roast, between roast, medium roast, and decaffeinated. Of course, some people take their joy where their work takes them. Our best restaurants have discovered Mellow Joy as the perfect ending to a fine meal. Experience pure joy, Mellow Joy coffee.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from the Grand Slam hitter to grandparents. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Hello, I'm Eric Edwards with the Livingston Parish Convention and Visitors Bureau. Find out now what's going on in Livingston Parish. We have over 400 nautical miles of waterways. Tee it up at our great world-renowned golf courses. Shop at our antique districts, or come to Bass Pro, our #1 retailer. There's a lot to do in Livingston Parish that you never imagined. It's all happening right here in Livingston Parish. For more information, go online at visitlivingstonparish.com.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from the three-point shooter to the three-piece suit. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show with Tim Johnson.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. We're visiting with Adam Knapp. He's president and CEO of BRAC. Adam, in the first segment, we really talked about the organization. We talked about some of the work you guys do day to day, the advocacy, the working relationship with the 9 parishes and the regions. Let's talk about some of the successes you had in 2013. I mean, economic development in this state has been going great guns. A lot of success statewide. Greater Baton Rouge area has seen some wonderful projects. So let's talk about the overall success of the organization in 2013, and then let's talk specifically about 3 or 4 major projects that were announced. IBM, the CB&I headquarter location and the transfer of employees there. Methanex, a great project. And then just last month, December, the governor announced this new water campus that will be built in Baton Rouge. So big picture first, and then let's drill down to some of these projects.
You know, I'd say the best place to start on this conversation about 2013 is just to remind the viewers that this was our best year ever in terms of economic development.
That's right.
As far back as our reorganization into an economic development organization back in 2004, we haven't seen a year like last year in perhaps in decades, to be honest. The numbers look like this. We had 15 projects that BRAC worked that announced some sort of job creation announcement last year. Existing companies, new attracted companies across the board. From those 15 projects, we had $112 million in new annual payroll, permanent payroll, not construction jobs or multipliers.
Significant.
$112 million in permanent payroll announced in a single year. We had $4.4 billion in capital investment announced in industrial construction and other construction projects that came from those 15 projects. And that's about just shy of 2,200 permanent jobs that'll create all of that new payroll. The reason why I come back to the payroll is that is what ripples out across the economy, is when new wealth is created. These are new firms primarily exporting a good or service outside of the region and bringing in new revenue, new wealth into the region. And that region then is spent at restaurants and at dry cleaners and at mom and pops, car dealerships. Right. It is the ripple effect of economic development that you see. So as that payroll number gets larger, you see the effect of economic development more significantly in the community. If you take last year's project successes and 2012's project successes together, what's incredible about the period of time we are in is you have just shy of about $8 billion of announced projects just from those new projects that we've been a part of. And at the same time, you've also seen almost every major chemical manufacturer or refiner along the Mississippi River announcing major expansions of additional investments, maybe just CapEx improvements of facilities or significant additions of capacity.
Taking advantage of low natural gas prices.
Taking advantage of what we're in the middle of. So you see this huge boom that's happening across not only the Baton Rouge area, but South Louisiana in general. And then you think about what are some of our core industries, Tim. You've got major industrial construction companies located here building facilities throughout the Gulf Coast. By some analysis we've done earlier last year, $200 billion worth of announced construction projects if you go from Galveston to Mobile. There's just a tremendous amount of activity happening, and the firms that are one of the most important sectors in our community, places like ISC, Performance, Cajun, CB&I, these are firms
Turner
Industries, they're building out these projects across the entirety of the Gulf Coast, and that benefit is also adding to construction in our region.
And let me say something about those firms too, because I think that's often overlooked as part of the overall economy here, those major construction firms. We have some of the best local industrial and commercial construction firm talent in the greater Baton Rouge area that exist anywhere in the world.
That's
and
right.
I think if you look at some of these projects that have taken place along the Gulf Coast, oftentimes they are done by Baton Rouge-based contractors, and in some cases, when contractors outside of the greater Baton Rouge area or outside of Louisiana stumble and fall, they bring in these Louisiana contractors to finish those projects.
No, that's right. I think I liken it to if you go to Cincinnati and you notice that Procter & Gamble is headquartered there, you might think, oh, that's great, they make a lot of soap and other products. If you think about our soap and other products that we make, the equivalent is that we have the best pipe fabrication facilities that are used. The pipe that is made here is used all over the world. It is an incredible skill set that we have, an industrial base that we have that makes us best at exporting those services and those products like pipes.
That's right.
The reason why that matters is that all couples with this industrial expansion that we're in the midst of is making this an incredible moment in time for our economy. So coming back to where we started in this segment, 2013 was one of these really landmark years for a number of different reasons. Industrial sector is probably one of the most significant. And the highest number of jobs last year in 2013 were added in the construction sector. So when you think about where is all of this playing out in terms of actual job growth in our market right now, it's in the construction sector we were just talking about.
We've got only about 2 minutes left in this segment, so I want to hit quickly on two projects specifically. You know, the IBM project that's been announced, Greater Baton Rouge, wonderful partnership with LSU. Give us 45 seconds on the significance, not just of the jobs and the investment that will be initially created, but about the long-term relationship and what it means for future economic development in the city.
Tim, a chamber CEO can't say his name in 45 seconds, so that's a ridiculous suggestion.
Go.
But no, I'm kidding. The IBM project is interesting for a number of reasons. One, it is the software sector After 5 or 6 years of really aggressively going after this industry, that we've seen small projects happen, but also big projects like EA Sports, now IBM, Meritas came last year. We see some very significant wins, building momentum in a sector that we have said, if we can be successful in it, becomes one of the fastest growing sectors in our region, because we've seen what software is doing nationally. It has been an explosive growth sector for the U.S. Over the last 20 years. And so it's a way to help diversify our economy into new industry, and that's what ultimately IBM represents to the broader economic strategy of our region.
You guys have done a great job at BRAC keeping your eye on the petrochemical industry and sort of that goose that laid the golden egg here, and not going away from that, but also the diversification is really important. When we come back from the break, I want to talk more about what lies ahead in 2014. We're visiting with Adam Knapp. He's president and CEO of BRAC, and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show on College Football.
The Louisiana Business and Industry Show will be back right after this.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from the blue chip athlete to blue collar worker. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Hi, I'm Lee Kane with Louisiana Football TV Magazine. Be sure to watch our show every week where we have big-time recruits, college coaches, NFL players, current and former players, and call-ins with your questions. Be sure to catch us every Tuesday night at 6:30 live and 10:30 replayed on Cox 4 in Baton Rouge.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from the soccer star to the soccer mom. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Insurance commercials have become unusually funny. We think that's strange because we take auto coverage pretty seriously at Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Of course, when you cover as many vehicles in Louisiana as we do, it doesn't leave a lot of time for silly gimmicks. We're more concerned about what happens to you on the road than any chickens that happen to cross it just to make you chuckle. Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Real service, real people.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from long drivers to unlucky drivers. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show with Tim Johnson.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. We're visiting with Adam Knapp, president and CEO of BRAC. Adam, we talked about in the last segment, actually in the first segment as well, this whole idea of collaboration, breaking down the silos, working with the 9 parishes in this region. But you're also working very closely to build relationships and work better with other regional economic development organizations. Lafayette Economic Development Authority over in Lafayette, particularly with G&O Inc., the group in New Orleans. You guys have formed what's called a super region committee. Tell us a little bit about that and what its purpose is.
After Katrina, the business communities of New Orleans and Baton Rouge, those metro areas, recognize that there's a lot of interconnections between our 2 regional economies. And when the CEO of G&O Inc., Greater New Orleans Inc., got his job, we both started in our roles about the same time. We had a conversation that we both realized we were hearing the same thing from our boards of directors, which is we've got to find ways to work better with our neighboring metro area. This idea that we are antagonistic to one another or competing with one another is silly. When you recognize that outside of Louisiana, most folks, especially outside of the U.S., most folks will have heard of the New Orleans area before they've ever even thought of or heard of Louisiana, much less Baton Rouge.
Correct.
It has a global brand identity that is undeniable. At the same time, we are a driving economic force. We have a major flagship research university, and we have an industrial base along the river that makes the Baton Rouge area a critical part of what happens in the economy of the state. And what we realize is we're stronger together if we can work collaboratively, not only on traditional business development work, recruiting companies, attracting companies, but also working on advocacy and public policy work, that when we can align on something that's good for both of our metro areas, we are a political force to be reckoned with. Two communities, two regions getting together can accomplish incredible things. This past year, we did something we've never done before. We took our two business communities on what we call a canvas trip, where we take a benchmarking trip to another place. And the New Orleans and Metro and the Baton Rouge Metro business leaders and some Lafayette and Houma Thibodaux business leaders came together, went to Orlando, Tampa, and spent 2.5 days, almost 3 days, just getting to know each other better, talking about the future and thinking about what might become. So we're at a moment in time where we've seen more collaboration between these two regions than ever before, hoping to grow our two regional economies in a united way.
Working together, the results can only be better than working individually or working in silos. That's certainly the case. Got about 3 minutes left, so let's jump to the strategic plan. 2014 is going to be a great year for this region. BRAC's got big plans. Talk to us about what we might see coming out of the organization.
You bet. There are about 5 things that we see as the top priorities that carry us on our path. We operate under a 5-year strategic plan that we craft with our investors, and we make sure that we are sticking to a core plan every year. And so every year we take on a different facet of how we implement that 5-year plan.
And let me say something about that. You mentioned the investors. This is not a staff-driven plan necessarily. This is the business community coming together and saying, this is what our organization needs to be focused on.
You bet. And holding this organization accountable to things that we believe are the next priority and our investors think is the next priority, all in the interest of advancing economic development in the region, right? First thing, we want to continue to address the opportunity we have to continue to grow the economy. We want to set a target of $57 million in payroll for this year, which is about a 20% increase in what our payroll target was from job projects last year. The idea is that we are at a moment in time that we want to continue to press forward, attracting firms, diversifying the economy, and using this moment in time, continuing to see that our economy can continue to grow at a faster pace than it has in the past. So that's the first thing. As a result of the successes we've seen, and you know this well, Tim, and you've had a lot of folks on your show to talk about this, workforce strategy becomes a critical part of our advocacy work. No question. It was the #1 survey response of business leaders about what they see as a challenge to the future, existing companies as well as new companies looking to our market. We see 3 different ways we need to address that in our strategic plan this year. One is to help firms with talent attraction. We're going to build a new online jobs portal related to attraction of talent, professional talent especially. Second is to work closely with the LCTCS on workforce development solutions for employers in the metro area that we might be able to see a more solution-driven concept for workforce development. And then third, working on STEM education. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math, and we want to see K-12 schools in the entire 9-parish region focusing more aggressively on STEM education. That's where we're going to be putting a lot of our focus and attention over the course of the next 12 months.
And we'll be watching closely. I think if you focus on economic development, you focus on education and job readiness, I think those are the key areas that BRAC can really play an important role going forward. Adam Knapp, President and CEO of Baton Rouge Area Chamber, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Really enjoyed being on, Tim.
Thanks, buddy. That's a wrap, guys. Thanks for joining us on the Louisiana Business and Industry Show on Cox 4.